Hurricane Francine has made landfall along the Louisiana coastline. Hello, I'm Mike Nasa with continuing video coverage of this powerful hurricane impacting the Gulf Coast of the United States, taking a look at the radar of the Gulf Coast and the entire southern United States. There is the eye of the hurricane pushing ashore there in southern Louisiana, and a lot of heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and stormy conditions are really walloping areas of the Gulf Coast from Louisiana into Mississippi and even Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, with gusty winds, heavy rainfall, flood threats, severe weather threats, and of course very high storm surge. Here's the latest from the National Hurricane Center as of 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central on Hurricane Francine. Francine makes landfall in southern Louisiana. Francine has made landfall in the parish of Terrebonne, which is about 30 miles south-southwest of Morgan City, as a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 100 miles per hour. An NOS station on Eugene Island reported a peak gust of 105 miles per hour and a minimum pressure of 976 millibars. Heavy rains and hurricane-force winds are spreading inland across southern Louisiana. Now is the time, if you see this update, to stay inside and stay away from windows. Have multiple ways to receive updates and warnings as the hurricane moves through. They're going to continue to have hourly position updates as time goes on. As of 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern, the hurricane is at 29.3 north, 91.3 west, 30 miles south-southwest of Morgan City, or about 85 miles west-southwest of New Orleans. Winds of 100 miles per hour and 972 millibar pressure. That makes it a solid Category 2 hurricane, and it is moving northeast quickly at 17 miles per hour. Those are from the forecasters there at the National Hurricane Center. Phil Klotzbach from Colorado State University said Francine is now the 8th hurricane of Category 2 strength or above since the year 2000 to strike Louisiana. So since the start of this 21st century, we've had Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida. And now we have Francine joining the list. So it happens, I mean, in a 24-year period, 8 storms, that's relatively frequent, but it also doesn't happen every single year. So a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane strike on Louisiana, quite a nasty hit for them. Here's the satellite imagery, and boy, this really shows how it's getting impacted by wind shear. Note at the beginning it had the eye kind of visible on satellite. Look at how it disappeared once the storm is being impacted by this shear. So that's good news that it kept it in check. But a Category 2 hurricane is certainly a solid storm. It's not quite a major hurricane, which is a 3, 4, or 5, but is higher than a minimal hurricane, which is a Category 1. In fact, if we look at the hurricane wind scale, we are right here, Category 2, so we're getting towards extensive damage. So that is a potent hurricane and very much a threat. But on that satellite, that wind shear impacting it is very evident. And look at this wind shear map. These winds are just ripping right into Francine. So that's the only good news, is that, thank goodness it was 100 miles an hour and not 120 miles an hour or 130 miles per hour. However, some of those oil rigs out there, if anybody were on them, which I'm assuming they're not, but if they were, even the wind measurements might be a little higher because it's elevated, so the higher elevations get the stronger winds. Here's some tide gauge stuff from the coastline here. We'll look and see where the hurricane is. Look at that. Look at that water rise here. This is Eugene Island. That's where they had the, look at the pressure, 976 millibars. 976 millibars with the pressure, and the wind speed. In fact, I don't know here. Let's see. Wind speed, water, standard. Let's see. Look at the way the water shoots right up. That's a sign that the surge is moving in. Here's another tide gauge here. This one showing water spiking right there. 978 millibar pressure. Near Morgan City, this one not showing too much water rise yet, but they're a little inland, still 986 millibars. But Morgan City, you're next up as the center of the storm moves towards you. And then if I look further to areas of the east here, we're seeing a little bit of water spike, high water, 1,000 millibars. So that tells me that this thing is still pretty tight. Tight enough. In fact, if we look at the radar here, for a hurricane being that sheared, that is kind of a tight core. So I'm wondering if that's why we're getting pressure readings so low right here, but not that low further out. So it's not as spread out as it could be, which is good news and bad news. It's good news because that means maybe the winds will be a little more confined than they could be. It's bad news, meaning that maybe this is kind of a consolidated system packing quite a punch. The storm surge threat very high, right along the coastline there, Morgan City, Homa, areas to the south, the marshy, swampy areas, the bayous down there, all very susceptible to surge. And we'll have high water rises as well wherever you have the onshore flow there in areas of Plaquemines Parish, Boothville, Buras, um, New Orleans, Slidell, Gulfport, even over into areas of Mississippi where that water pushes onshore, you will have the threat of surge. Power outages are going to be an issue. Looking at the map of the United States, California is always without power. They got problems there. But Louisiana, when we zoom in here, look at that. We're already dealing with St. Mary Parish, a lot of people out. Terrebonne Parish, a lot of people out. Lafourche Parish, Lafouche. There's many ways to pronounce these Cajun names, and I am far from Cajun, so forgive me there. But I'm better than I was 20 years ago. You guys are out, and then Assumption Parish out as well. Looks like Jefferson, St. Charles, St. John the Baptist, Orleans Parish. You guys are holding up okay, but that's going to change because you're going to be on the right front quadrant of the hurricane, and that's the worst part to be in. So again, as the hurricane pushes in, we will see more power outages. I hate them. I hate power outages, but it's something you got to deal with. So this is the latest on Hurricane Francine, a Category 2 strike, a United States landfall of a Category 2 hurricane on this Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. A potent hit there in southern Louisiana. Stay tuned for further coverage of Hurricane Francine as the storm makes landfall in Louisiana.